30 seconds remaining. Ten seconds.
Power items on the way.
Victory.
Oh, gee. Ugh.
Slayer.
Yeah, I'd say the call went pretty good yesterday.
Feed him to a pulp, Spartan.
I just call when it rains it pours. I'd say the call went well yesterday. On a personal side, on a professional side, because OG said that the reason they are not playing us at the moment is for two reasons, and one is strategic, and the other is personal. And we cleared the personal stuff, and we hear what they're saying, and I won't go into detail on that. That's their personal stuff that they had with us. But professionally speaking, they have said they don't, IPG Type 2 stream, they don't feel like they're losing anything by not playing us. And every team is doing the same thing to only us.
Double kill. Perfect.
Look it up on Instagram, where Instagram tells me my location is. It was like San Francisco, but
Power
then
items
it's like,
incoming.
it's like like
That's
Godzilla
Kill.
something. No, there's San Francisco in Mexico.
Yeah, of
right?
course, yeah.
Um,
Yucatan?
All items available.
We had a resort.
don't you?
Killing
What
spree.
airport did you fly into?
It's like a villa. I flew into PVR. Puerto.
Puerto Vallarta. Puerto Vallarta. Got it.
Yeah, and we stayed at some.
Who's we?
Me and my LA friends.
Oh, you got LA friends.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like on that level now.
Yeah.
How many people were there?
There's 8 of us.
8 of you.
Yeah.
Bro, Nick,
But
Nick,
there's so much
He went
room.
on a
There was
little
still like 3 extra rooms. But it was a nice ass villa. You guys saw the video on
Double
IG.
kill.
yeah.
I did not. Yeah, I did. I don't use IG.
And here I
At
was
all.
thinking we were doomed.
Literally at all.
So it's just TikTok and Twitter?
I don't even use TikTok. Yeah, Kevy Skills needs to get on that.
No, but I'm saying you not you using it. Like, where do you consume content?
Oh,
Like you don't ever just go on Instagram and scroll?
Yeah.
Or like it's stories?
Not even taking poop?
Killing
never ever.
frenzy.
Nope.
So how do you keep up with like my fresh outfit?
I literally, I don't know. I just like ever since my Instagram got hacked, I've had like no fucking drive to use Instagram.
Damn. Well,
I
that's
just use Twitter.
just so you guys know.
That's how I was with TikTok. I never used TikTok.
Yeah.
My phone was always telling me to look
Yeah.
at TikTok.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I do watch TikTok sometimes. Sometimes I watch.
Then
Bro.
once I dove into it, just,
Yeah.
I wake up and
Bro, I only scroll through TikTok at night when I'm going to bed because I will spend
laying
an
there.
hour. Bro, it's like 6-second videos that are an hour long. Conspiracy theories, UFOs, scary, like,
Trying to find something to listen to while I game.
Hello everyone and welcome back to some more esports talk. In the scene of Valorant, we have a lot of very wide ranges of ages of different players. Generally though, it seems to be a much younger scene than maybe something like CSGO. One
Fuck.
player, for example, would have to be 100T Hiko, who is 31 years old, which is fairly old in the Valorant scene. Shroud, of course, addressing this while streaming with Hiko, saying, hey man, you should just retire at this point.
You have just jets just updraft dashing.
It's
at
too
you,
fast,
lasers
man.
coming at
It's
you.
not about like being tactical, although like of course you can strategize and all of that, but it's more about having every single player being able to adapt and think on the fly as fast as possible. That's what it's about. You can't have one boomer, you can't have 2 boomers, you definitely
You
can't
have to
have
have
3.
zero boomers.
You have to have 0 boomers if you want to be on top, and that's just a fact. So I'm sorry, Hiko, but it might be time for you to full-time stream. Join me. Join me, man.
Yeah, but what if you're a boomer and you're playing like Killjoy, where you have something that literally aims for you and stuns them and slows them for you, and mollies, like and double damage, like you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is an option.
I have to say, pretty bold of Shroud just to straight up say, hey, just be like me and retire, because boomers shouldn't be on these Valorant teams to begin with, because we're just weighing them down. At the end of the day, we're just not as good as these Zoomers are. We're just not. It's just, that's the fact of life. We can't click heads the same way that someone like Asuna can. It's just not going to happen. And Shroud is probably the best example of this, of a retired player who has been successful in the streaming world. We have these conversations all the time where we think people like Call of Duty players should always retire because they do so well on their streams compared to how much they're making in the competitive environment. Shroud goes on to say that, hey, he doesn't even remember the last time that he cared about something. It was probably like a year or 2 ago.
Do you use AimLab, Mike?
No, actually, I never have. Probably should. I really stopped caring. Probably about
About what?
Probably
About your aim or
no, just in general. Probably about
just
like
everything?
Probably about like 2 years ago, I think. A year or two. I just stopped giving a fuck. You know?
No, I get it. I see it.
Was that around the time where you just secured the giantest bag ever in a few months?
I don't know where people get this bag from.
Oh, we know, Shroud.
This bag thing, this rumor.
Yeah, I don't know. I was at Mike's house the other day and he asked me for $20. So
I'm not super sure if I believe Shroud there when he says that the bag is just some sort of rumor, because we all know about the Mixer deal that Shroud got. It is notorious, it is very famous because of the amount of money he made in such a short period of time due to that contract being broken by Mixer because Mixer shut down. And so I'm not sure he can really deny the bag, but it certainly does show that there are some huge opportunities out there for streamers. Shroud, of course, probably just the higher end of these examples where a lot of people aren't going to be as successful as he is, but he's even gotten to the point where he doesn't even know what his sub count is.
I don't think I've read a sub in months.
Dude, I remember. Dude.
You
Dude,
can
listen.
f off, Mike.
Listen, I was talking to Shroud like I think it was like 2 or 3 months ago, and I was like, "What's your sub count? Is it like public information? Do you tell?" And he's like, "Honestly, I don't even know. I haven't looked in about 6 months now. Let me check." He literally said he had no idea, and he had to go check to see.
Yep.
Kind of crazy, dude. Honestly, we strive to be you one day.
Shroud having a perspective that many people do not, as he was a former pro.
I forget. I'm gonna ear rape you guys. I'm just coughing.
Started an organization
Oh my
that was
God.
all former pros turned content creators. I think that would be a cool idea, but it's interesting to see him kind of try to usher someone like Nico into content creation and maybe see if the legend of Shroud could be repeated, where a pro player turns into a content creator that is wildly successful. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about all this. Until next time.
Oh, I gotta just rotate it.
We have the ball. Ball dropped.
Hello, everyone. It is
carrier down.
a crazy time in the new media world. And
Hang on tight, Spartan.
one of the craziest things is we're going to talk about today is Ludwig's decision to move to YouTube gaming. He
We
is
have the
stopping
ball.
live streaming on Twitch and moving to
Ball
YouTube gaming. We're
dropped.
talking about that today, but
We
not
lost
only that,
possession.
we are also covering
We
Twitch and
have
its
the ball.
future. We're covering YouTube and its success and where it's going, what's happening in 3 sections. The strap in. This is going to be
Ball
a
dropped.
crazy video. We're going to start
Enemy
with
has the
Ludwig,
ball.
and then I'm going to timestamp the other 2 sections for you
Ball
if you want to
dropped.
look at Twitch and what's happening
Enemy
with
has
it.
the ball.
We're going to talk about a lot of stuff there. I
Ball
think there's
dropped.
so many things that are going to appear in this video that nobody is talking about and just doesn't realize. And if you want to really get a good picture of like what new media is doing, especially in the live streaming space, make sure to watch the whole thing. So starting with Ludwig and his reasons, I think, for moving and what's happening there. Ludwig is someone who I respect at a very high level. He's what I would call an intentional content creator, a person who sets themselves up to target a goal in content creation and then just goes for it and nails it. He had an incredibly successful YouTube channel in a relatively small amount of time, as well as on Twitch. He's launched tons of really cool events, from supporting the fighting game
Holy
community in Smash to doing insane subathons where he gets tons of subs and doing charity events. He's just
Enemy has
an
the
awesome
ball.
content creator all
Ball
around.
dropped.
And I want to talk about what I
Active
think
camo
some of
inbound.
his reasons
Enemy
were
has the
for
ball.
leaving. He had a fantastic video that I encourage you to watch, was Why I Left Twitch, on his mogul channel, his secondary channel. And I want to kind of like outline some of the reasons there and bring some attention to them and also incorporate some of the other content creators into this. If you don't know, I'm Devin Nash. I run an agency called Novo, which is one of the top agencies representing talent and creative brands in the space. I also talk about stuff in the new media space, influencer marketing and stuff like that that interests me. So let's get into it. I'm ready. I'm so excited. Okay, so the first
Enemy
thing I want to
halfway
talk
to
about
victory.
is Ludwig and his reasons. That's going to be
Ball
number
dropped.
1 here.
Allied carrier down.
And
Enemy has the ball.
I just want to get the most boring one out of the way. It's truly the
Ball
most boring one because
dropped.
the rest of the stuff is like so cool to talk about. And that's just the money, okay? The money is the first bastion, basically, of what we're going to have to talk about. I mean, Ludwig outright tells you in his videos that he's getting paid vastly more for being on YouTube. And I'm gonna toss up our friend here, Moist Critical, and his commentary on this
Enemy
subject.
has the ball.
Let's see him listen.
Ball dropped.
Say straight up.
They offered
Enemy
more
has
money.
the ball.
Alright, so here's something I'll touch on real quick. Toast recently came back, and he made a statement saying that
My
Twitch's
shot
contracts
sucks.
are 1/30th the money that other streaming platforms are. Now, as a lot of you know, I do have that company where we manage like content creators
Ball
and stuff.
dropped.
Toast exaggerated a little bit, but Twitch's contracts are on average a tenth, unironically a tenth of what most other contracts will offer.
So I also run a company that
Enemy
runs
has the
creators,
ball.
and we do direct negotiations with Twitch. I would say that both
Enemy team
1/30th
nearing
and
victory.
I don't know what's going on.
1/10 are exaggerations, and I think that it's probably around a third to a fourth of what
Ball
other
dropped.
things of
Power items
what
on the
other platforms offer. Because let's take a look at let's say it's a 10th, okay, and let's say that Twitch offers you $1 million to stay on the platform. That means that another platform is offering $10 million, right? And these are crazy numbers. We know that the craziest numbers ever to show up in streaming negotiations were Shroud and Ninja's numbers, right? And that was Mixer paying, allegedly, right, $30 to $35 million per creator to get this. So we know these contracts aren't that high, and I can tell you right now, I know what the contracts are, right? I see almost every one of these deals pass through the agency in some way, or the agencies talk, and we see them. And I think it's much closer to like a third or a fourth. But when you're making it, the money situation is interesting for Ludwig, because when you're making a decision to do something, what I didn't hear anybody talk about is Ludwig's content timeline. Ludwig has never set up to be a lifetime
I don't know how he got
said
behind
right out
me.
the gate,
I
he
don't
said,
know.
I'm gonna be doing this stuff for 4 years, and then I'm out.
How the heck did he get behind me? With the grapple?
Going to be a point
Just
where
escape?
I hit the stop streaming button and
We
I
have
don't
the
come
ball.
back, right? And that
Ball
that
dropped.
got
Lost
artificially
possession.
Enemy has
extended
the
a little
ball.
bit by this YouTube contract, but there will be a point after that where he doesn't stream and he doesn't create content because it's not his end game, right? I think his end game is in production. We're gonna talk about that a little bit later. So
Better them than us.
Ludwig has a different timeline than a lot of the other creators that we've covered. Like what we've always talked about, everyone has moved to YouTube or moved to another platform. I covered Shroud, Ninja, Tim, right? And I think Ludwig is different from all those people in the sense that he has a comparatively short timeline for content. He doesn't want to do this forever, right? Which is something I respect. I don't want to. I will always be creating VOD content in some way, but I didn't want to do live streaming forever either. So when you get offered a contract that might be 3 or 4 times greater than what Twitch is willing to provide, then you are up. Your consideration is going to be different if your timeline is like 5 years versus your timeline is like 20 years, right? Like maybe he thinks he can get that bag in 20 years, but because like Ludwig's focus is going to be on that 3 to 4 year timeline, in this case now it's going to be 5 to 6 years total, you're much more likely to take a deal from YouTube or something like that. That's competitive, right? So the first reason is money, and I want to talk about like this sort of like 1/10, 1/30th contract thing with Twitch. We're going to be covering like a lot of Twitch stuff in the Twitch section, but
Dude, I'm making money moves.
And again, I'm refuting this. I think it's like 1/3, 1/4, and I trust me when I say I have very good information to back that up. But okay, so I think that we expect Twitch to pay top dollar to retain these high-level streamers,
Facing
and
elimination.
we don't consider that for every dollar they spend retaining these high-level creators, they are taking away from the budget that they have to support mid-tier or small-tier creators or events or any number of other things, Twitch rivals, things that they're doing, right? Because that's all a portion of one budget. YouTube and Facebook are making plays right now that they do not have to be ROI conscious, meaning that they aren't expecting to get a return on investment in pure cash dollars for Ludwig. And I'll explain why. I'll explain exactly why. It's a big thing that I've never heard anybody
No,
talk
he
about
comes out.
in the
He's
section
healing
of the
up back
YouTube
there.
section about why they're doing that, right? And I'm also going to say something really cool about Twitch. There's so much cool stuff in this video that I'm so excited to talk about. Oh my god. About why Twitch has actually made that decision in the past and what they're doing now. Like, we're going to break down all the reasons why Twitch and YouTube are making decisions that they are in my sort of
Enemy has the ball.
Okay, so it is unreasonable to me to expect Twitch at this cycle of their lifespan to put in bazillions of dollars to retain top talent versus trying to cultivate the
ball.
number one streaming platform that leads all of those people there. It's a losing game
Enemy has
to
the
compete
ball.
with YouTube on a purely one-to-one cash dollar basis, and and a lot of people are giving Twitch trouble for not going one-to-one with YouTube on Ludwig because
Enemy
he
has
is
the ball.
a top 10 creator. I actually understand more what Twitch's perspective was on that, because I think they would view that as, okay, that's a lot of money we're giving a top creator to be
Seize the
here,
ball.
who that we would then need to take away from everything else we're doing. Because you have to remember that like Twitch is ultimately accountable to Amazon, and
Active
is a
camo
very
inbound.
small
Enemy has the
partition
ball.
of their
Ball dropped.
total portfolio. And to some
We
extent,
have the ball.
in my opinion, I think Twitch is much less relevant
Active
to
camo
Amazon
available.
than YouTube is to Google, or Facebook is to Facebook, right? Like remember
left of
that YouTube as an ecosystem supports Google's ad platform, and Google Ads, AdWords, right, is one of the main revenue drivers of Google, right? So making the case to Google for an eventual return on investment play is a much easier pitch than Twitch going to Amazon and saying we need more money for anything. Because if you can't demonstrate how either A, it gets you Amazon Prime accounts, or B, benefits Amazon's
We have the
shopping
ball.
site in some way, I think, just me out here in space saying this, that
Ball
it is
dropped.
harder for Twitch to
carry you
secure
down.
budget from Amazon.
We have the
Amazon
ball.
has no real fundamental reason to care about
Gain
Twitch as a
the
platform,
lead.
other than the fact that they
Ball
wanted sort of a
dropped.
content vertical in a new media space, and they wanted the
Enemy has the
technology
ball.
for live streaming that that Twitch is
Lost
built
the
off of. Because at the
lead.
time of the acquisition, it was the most
Ball
superior
dropped.
technology that there was. And so from an engineering standpoint,
Ball
Twitch was a
incoming.
phenomenal
lighting
acquisition
sucks.
for things like AWS, or which is why, by the way, if you look at how Twitch is compartmentalized in Amazon's public records, they're compartmentalized as a section of AWS, right? Compared to all the other things they could be compartmentalized in, they're not in media, they're in AWS. So
We
Twitch
have the
is
ball.
seen as a technological platform to
Ball
benefit their live
dropped.
streaming section, which is why you
Lost
see like
possession.
services like IVS, right, which is like a live streaming service that Amazon based off of Twitch and can farm out to people. You can like have your own streaming service, and also a platform to gain Amazon Prime. So for that
Enemy
reason,
has the
Twitch is
ball.
never going to have the
Ball
budget
dropped.
that someone like a Google or a Facebook does, where ads are so integral to those platforms that just Facebook gaming and YouTube
Active
gaming
camo.
are one-to-one with those business models. Now that's a vulnerability of Twitch, right? But it's a reality. So but by that virtue, I don't think we'll ever see Twitch
Active
going
camo
toe-to-toe with YouTube or Facebook to try to pan out these contracts. You're going to see over and over again this perception from creators where they're like, yeah, Twitch just did not for me the money that YouTube. You're just going to see that, right? They can't go one-to-one. They can't, because they're not
We
able to
have the
approve those
ball.
budgets on the same level. And even if they were, I think they're more interested in distributing that money to the website as a whole, and trying to cultivate the #1 streaming platform in the form of events or Twitch rivals or other things like that. So that's the money talk. I think we're going to continue seeing these deals come well below value. And there's some debate that, like, think about this, right? Like, Disguised Toast, who just recently came back from Facebook Gaming, shows up on Twitch and immediately has 20,000 viewers, right? We see Shroud come back from Mixer, and Shroud's killing it on New World, killing it with 20 to 30 to 50K viewers, depending on what he plays. Twitch knows that if it retains its if it
Enemy
retains
has
its
the ball.
crown as the
Ball
#1
dropped.
place to be to live stream, they don't have to worry about these creators coming back. They don't have to pay those big dollars, because eventually these creators will come back and will come back to the platform, as many of these people have, as long as these other streaming services stay feel inferior. So if I was Twitch, right, I would be
An ally
spending
has
all that
slain the
money on
carrier.
events,
We have
quality,
the ball.
production, building a better website, because then I retain that position as the #1 kingmaker, and as long as I do that,
Nearing
those people will always
victory.
come back anyway, regardless of if I pay them or not. So that's why you're seeing those lower numbers come out of Twitch. I don't think anybody's talking about that. Let's go to reason number 2 that Ludwig left, and this is a kind of a far more interesting
Ball
issue
dropped.
than the money, which is
We
a pretty
have the
basic
ball.
issue. That's total streaming hours. So Ludwig says in his why I left
Active
Twitch
camo
video
inbound.
that that one of the
Round
defining
one.
factors of the Twitch versus YouTube debate for him was the number of streaming
Final
hours that are
round.
required in contract to actually stream. So if you guys don't know, all of these contracts are written with a certain requirement for streaming hours. That makes sense, right? Like that if you're gonna take a paid contract to be on a platform, you gotta do your job a portion of the time, right? But Twitch is notorious for these hours being extremely high. And this is something that Asmongold has talked to. This is something that Tim the Tatman has talked to. Many of these like top creators have said, man, like if I want to get paid by Twitch, the requirements on streaming hours are absurd. Now, why are they absurd? Well, because Twitch makes most of its money by you being online. And the more ads you can show, the more online you are, the more money that Twitch makes, the more subs you get, on and on and on, right? So Twitch doesn't have the benefit of like a video platform behind it like YouTube does. And so they need to rely heavily on these like live people, especially their top audience being live, to be able to retain and gain in revenue. So they're going to farm these aggressive contracts, but YouTube doesn't have to do that, which is a huge advantage YouTube has, because YouTube is able to say, look, like you're a holistic brand, you've got videos on our platform, you can make community posts, you can do all these things that will also get engagement, and will also make us ad dollars. Do those things, right? In addition to live streaming, you can stream less, and that is a defining thing for streamers, because I think that just like the 200 to 300 hour a month streaming stuff, just the streaming schedule is just unsustainable mentally, right? And I did a really important video about this that I want to highlight. If you want to watch more about like what I mean by the sort of like mental strain of streaming at that level, I did a video called The Hidden Mental Health Epidemic in Streaming. It's located here, youtube.com/DevinNash, where you're probably currently watching this video. And I would just highly recommend, it's one of the most important videos that I've created, just a full 40-minute breakdown on just like the hours that these broadcasters put and the grueling requirement it is to be a streamer at that level. Makes this like really unsustainable. So Ludwig understands that and wants to dedicate some of his time to doing high production value stuff versus just streaming super auto pets all day. And totally understand it, totally get it. Reason number 3 is something that I'm going to touch on in the next section, but that I want to cover now. And I just want to watch, I want to go to his video and just listen to what he said about it first.
And I realized in that moment that even though I've been with Twitch for 3+ years, even though people call me the golden boy of Twitch, I've never felt like the golden boy of Twitch. I've never felt particularly loved by Twitch. I love Twitch, but it hasn't been a two-way street.
I'm gonna give you another one too.
They're not gonna help me make the shit I want to make.
Double kill.
I don't feel especially.
Everyone's gonna want a piece of that.
Respected, wanted.
We were doomed.
Ball dropped.
And I also don't want to do something because it's comfortable.
We have the ball.
So. Here you're kind of seeing something that's real interesting, and this is this feeling from Ludwig, right? That Twitch doesn't have his back. And in the next section, Twitch and its future, we're going to talk about why. But these are the 3 major reasons why Ludwig left Twitch, I think, and ultimately decided on YouTube. And his video on this why I left Twitch, if you just Google why I left Twitch, or maybe I'll link it. It's extremely interesting. It's so worth watching. Oh my god, it's like 11 minutes. It's great. It's a phenomenal video for so many reasons. So those are Ludwig and his reasons. And now what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about Twitch and its future. And starting with this really interesting thing here, like that feeling that Twitch doesn't have his back. We're going to dig into what that means, and I'm going to get real granular. So please stay for that. Before you do watch that, a couple of things I just want to say real quick. I have an active community of people that talk about new media, influencer marketing, stuff like that. And that is located at discord.gg/Devin. I also have a Patreon, patreon.com/DevinNash. It's patreon.com/DevinNash. It actually has like over 30 videos that I've made that are, it's way more, I can't do a lot of videos on this channel because I have to talk about things I know everybody is interested in. But if you're interested in like really deep business stuff, really deep like entrepreneurial or like influencer talk or like how to build businesses or like lifestyle things, the Patreon is something you should check out. It is I'm putting a lot of work into it, and you don't ever feel like you have to support it. I'll always have free stuff here. But if you do want to support it, it would mean a lot to me. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Check it out. And that's it. That's all I want to talk about with some shout outs. Discord.gg/Devin, patreon.com/DevinNash. Thank you for watching the video and like supporting this channel and subscribing and liking it. I really want to take a second to appreciate you and thank you for that. and to shout that out. Okay, so let's get into the meat of this video, I think, and that's,
Enemy has
that's
the
Twitch and its
ball.
future and what kind of like what's going on there. So
Ball dropped.
let's first talk about this like really interesting
We have the ball.
thing, this feeling that like Twitch doesn't have his back, and I want to show you another clip that's going to lead into this and kind of support this again from our boy Charlie.
Nearing victory.
But the actual people that make the important decisions don't give a fuck
We've lost
about
possession.
like what streamers do on their platform. They don't get excited and they don't like fight for streamers. Ludwig is the number
Ball
6
dropped.
earning streamer on
Enemy
all of
has the
Twitch.
ball.
And they weren't ready to fight for him. On Stan's show, he mentioned he wanted one feature from Twitch, and this probably would have kept him here. He wanted Twitch to cap the amount of gift subs his channel could receive, because he felt guilty when people would donate too much money to him through gift subs. So
Enemy
he
has
asked
the
them,
ball.
"Can you just cap it for my channel?" And they said no. They wouldn't budge on anything. And then when he did say, like he just mentioned here, I'm going to YouTube, they're totally fine with it. I think Twitch believes they're in this position where they're a monopoly, so losing Ludwig's not a big deal. He also
Enemy
mentioned he
has the
talked to
ball.
people, so I'll talk about it. A lot of streamers have been talking to each other about switching platforms, and a couple of them have made that decision, and I think a lot of you are going to be shocked at the next couple that are leaving.
I can confirm that too. I think a lot of people will be really surprised by that. So Charlie is phenomenal here, and this is we're going to talk about Twitch communication and the feel of interacting with Twitch as a broadcaster. So this is something that I have heard so many times from broadcasters, and I think Charlie is dead on here. And a lot of people are going to hear this, and they're going to think that fighting for Ludwig means offering him more money, right? As we covered here about, there's some good fundamental reasons why Twitch doesn't have to do that. No, that's not the issue here. This is something that, like, I know people on both sides. I know you guys from YouTube are watching this. I know you guys from Twitch are watching this. The thing that Twitch is not doing is making
Enemy has the
its
ball.
top broadcasters, actually it's broadcasters in general, but let's talk top broadcasters, feel like they are part of a system that cares about them. This is
Ball
so
dropped.
important. And one of you might know that I represent Amaranth. Our agency represents Amaranth exclusively. And Amaranth has has caught bans
Ball
for
out of
various
bounds.
reasons, right?
Ball
Some less
incoming.
obvious than others. And on the last suspension that she received, when we corresponded with Twitch
Enemy has the
directly to try to figure out like why she got banned, the answer we got back from Twitch, I kid you not, was this message: IDK, I'm not an influencer, LOL. That was the.
Glad I'm in your
Why
head.
was she suspended? IDK, I'm not an influencer. And that's completely ridiculous for the #1 female creator on the entire website. Like, it's like what is going on, right?
Lost the
And
lead.
constantly this feeling of just not being cared for, right? It is something that Twitch cannot nail down because they just think in terms of analysis and numbers and are these people going to be on our website or not, or how much revenue is generated or this, or should we pay them or not? Everybody thinks it's about the money in these contracts, not realizing that these streamers are already ultra freaking rich. And guess what? They're not only ultra freaking rich, they're nerds. They don't live like they're ultra freaking rich. They live like they're in their basement playing video games, and an extra $200,000 a year or whatever the hell it is just not going to matter to them. And this is something that I covered with the streamer Mizkif recently, that like it just doesn't, like, more money is not going to be the needle that pushes you. So once you've gotten to that point where you have just a ton of money and you're swimming in it, you're looking at things like, can I produce cool stuff that matters to people? Am I cared for as a person? Do I feel like I'm someone that's contributing to this platform? And Twitch is just #1 problem right now, and its largest vulnerability to its future, where I think that if Twitch does not solve this communication problem of making its streamers, especially its top streamers, feel like they matter, that the website is doomed to lose far more people to people that do care. And that's something that comes through not just like with direct one-on-ones. Like I would pull aside and I would say, out of the 50 to 100 top content creators on Twitch, how many of them have had a one-on-one meeting even for 30 minutes with Emmett Shear, the CEO of Twitch, or any of the executive staff? I would be willing to bet it is close to zero. close to 0 of those streamers have had a meaningful meeting with an executive talking about Twitch's future. How many of those people have had that on YouTube side? Every single one of those creators has had that meeting on YouTube side. I remember when Moist Critical uploaded a video talking about some of the problems that YouTube had, and Susan, the CEO of YouTube, called Charlie, just called him on the phone. And then Charlie made a video after that. It was like, hey, Susan called me and cleared this up, because like just a little bit of impact from the top level that says, hey, we're listening, we care. Like that, like calendaring that out is something that's just so critical. And it's something that I learned in building businesses that were even 100 people, right? Like my going one-on-one to someone that was not necessarily my direct report and just listening for 30 minutes to an hour. What do you got? What do you think is going on with this company? First of all, you learn so much. And second of all, it means so much to that individual person. It's not that hard to get those people on your side, but Twitch just literally does 0 to do it. For many of the top creators right now, if they have an AM, which is, an account manager, a person who is supposed to represent them on behalf of Twitch, their AM is completely unavailable, barely talks to them. Even if they do have that AM, many of them do not have AMs, and many of the middle tier and high tier partners, which I would consider to be like within the realm of like 3,000 to 10,000 current viewers, are just completely getting dropped in terms of their AMs. Like many, there's an unsung story here where recently, and I think what happened was, this is happening to partners individually, so like there's not a cohesive story on this, but if someone wanted to look into it, you'd find that over the course of the last 6 to 12 months, the majority of partners have lost their AMs, and they've been repurposed into different places. Now why is this happening? Well, one is just because of a pretty practical reason. Twitch has a lot more partners, right? I believe they've moved from something like, 0 partners. Like when I joined, I was one of the first 1,000 partners. We're now like, I think we're north of 70,000 or something like that. 70,000, 80,000, something like that. There's some number on some website I saw recently. But man, that's a lot of partners, right? So you can't expect one-to-one white glove service for all those people, or even the majority of them. But then like once you sort of like divide it down into the number of partners that are active, the number of partners that are over 1,000 concurrents, the number of partners that are over 5,000 concurrents, right? You could imagine that Twitch would be able to build a system to make those top 100 broadcasters, particularly the top 10, right? Particularly Ludwig, feel like he's wanted. But it's not just a lack of communication. It's also that the actual communication with Twitch feels very, very stale, feels very, very uncaring. Let's listen to Tim the Tapman's take on that clip that I just showed you, which was Ludwig saying that people like don't really care.
Multi-thousand employee company. There's 18 pipelines things have to go through before they can get done. You know, you have an idea, it won't be executed for 10 months, and it will look nothing like what you originally thought. I know all this. But it still fucking hurt when they said, we wish you the best.
Interesting. Now, what's interesting about this whole thing, obviously I had my own decision-making process with YouTube and Twitch, right? All I'll say is, I know Lud's been on Twitch for, I think he said 3 or 4 years. I was on Twitch for about 8 or 9 years. And similar storyline, man. Similar storyline. That's all.
So Twitch has all of these creators who are publicly saying that this is a problem. And I can speak to this personally, by the way, right? Like I've been a broadcaster since 2012. I was one of the first 1,000 partners. I have been lucky enough to have personal relationships with some of the people at Twitch that have been fantastic to me. Now, I also ran an esports team, right, that had a contract with Twitch, which was, at the time was one of their largest contracts they had out to any organization. So I was
Destiny. Watch these like it's a Clockwork Orange, and I'm going to respond to them, so prepare for the suffering.
Please, make it stop.
I'm just
just going to post this every time people ask me the same questions over and over again. My name's Farah. I am a trans woman as well as an intersex woman. My pronouns are she, her, they, them, or your grace. My eyes are tattooed. My nose is a piercing. I identify as a threat, a nightmare, and a goddess, so please bow down to me. I do not believe in God, I don't worship the devil, but yes, I am a Satanist, which means I am my own God and I worship myself. Thank you. Have a good day.
The last part's true. I mean, to do this, you really must worship yourself.
But I'm the best.
I have questions just about, decision making. I have questions about what happens when you have a cold, but you have a giant hole that you have put in the side of your nose with apparently some sort of heart hole punch. I have many questions. None of them are, honestly, I'm not sure I want to hear the answers. I mostly just want to bury my head under a pillow and scream, I think.
So I saw this video of a cop forcibly removing a masked subway commuter for asking him to put on a mask. And at first I was confused because there are signs all over the subway stations and subway cars asking people to wear a mask. But then it occurred to me, maybe the NYPD don't know how to read. So I skated to my local mask stand in Chinatown to pick up some masks for them and myself. Just because unemployment benefits ended and the government deems the economy more important than human lives doesn't mean that we're not still in a pandemic. Next, I went to Dunkin' Donuts to get some pig bait. I thought my look was giving, but not everyone seemed to agree. Finally, I hopped the turnstile like all New Yorkers do. If you're upset that I committed fare evasion, I just want to let you know, I'm just following the examples of the pigs in this video. Previously, when I tried to give them masks as it was mandated on their job as cases were skyrocketing, they refused them. So this time I got creative and attached masks to a fishing pole with donuts as bait. And finally, it was time for me to go fishing.
Okay, they say we don't have enough of a social welfare net here in the United States. Let me just point out that this human being spent their entire day doing this and putting it on TikTok, and somehow is still going to have enough to eat for dinner. So I would suggest that we need to change our incentive structure.
Maybe you should get a job.
All these videos are just filled with practical questions, like how do you skateboard in those heels? If I'm a cop, nothing says I'm going to comply with your demands that I wear a mask quite like you giving me quote-unquote pig bait. What delights these you guys do?
So I have this thing, call it a little quirk if you will. I have hair in my armpits. I have it there for a few reasons. 1, lazy. 2, the patriarchy. And 3, your response to them tells me everything I need to know about you.
Don't worry, they're not seeking attention. None of these people are seeking attention. It's amazing. They demand nothing of you, right? This was the argument. Wasn't this always the argument? The argument was they're not demanding it. They just want to live life the way they want to live life, except they demand your full acceptance. If you look at people and you say, it's strange that you have decided to shave the front of your head, leave a ponytail, and leave your armpits unshaven while wearing sleeveless shirts, that's my problem? It seems like more it's your problem. Don't demand my attention, and then when I give you the attention, you get very offended by the attention. It's the most childish crap ever. Seriously, it's super childish. It's what my 5-year-old does.
Insubordinate and churlish.
Act like children, be treated like children. Seriously. This is our... Man, I feel bad for this kid. Seriously, I feel bad for the kid. I mean, there will be a kid born into a family without a proper father and mother. That's sad. Here's the thing. It's all fun and games until 2 generations from now there are no children and our society is a complete wreck and waste of itself. There are other societies that have not decided to carve out the heart from maleness and femaleness, and those societies will continue to thrive and exist. Ours simply will not. We'll get to more woke TikToks in just one moment. First, let's talk about how Daily Wire was built. So when we started Daily Wire, it literally was like 7 of us in a pool house filming my podcast. But then we decided we were going to grow. And the way to grow was we had to focus in on data. We had to focus in on marketing. We needed to make smart business decisions that were data-driven. And every company needs to do that. Every company strives to have unique values and a long-lasting impact. It's time to position your company as an industry leader, create buzz, attract new customers, and generate consistent revenue. Giant Partners is here to help you do it. Giant Partners are America's #1 data-driven marketing agency. They operate in the business-to-business space, offering a variety of business marketing solutions like database marketing, brand development, web design, SEO, lead generation, digital marketing services, and ad placement. That's just to name a few of their services. Whether you own a small family business or handle millions in revenue every year, Giant Partners can help you get to the next level. Their marketing strategies are research-driven. They're equipped with 20 years of data experience. Don't take my word for it. Their largest customers include BMW Nationwide, Ohio State University, 3M, and Ethan Allen. So head on over to giantpartners.com. Get your business set up today.
So I am a cis woman with IBS, and I use the men's bathroom. And I've seen a lot of videos of trans men who are in public bathroom stalls with somebody in a stall next to them just farting and shitting and being gross.
I have a question. Stop it right there. Why are there videos online of people in stalls in bathrooms, period? Doesn't that make you the perv? Also, what else are you supposed to do in a bathroom stall? I mean, aside from, like, if you're Larry Craig and you're actually, like, trying to solicit some sort of action in a public restroom, what are you supposed to be doing except for taking a dump in the toilet?
That's right, buddy. You show that turd who's boss.
Okay, we can continue, but I don't know why we're continuing. No, I don't want to. I want to run directly through this wall, leaving a Ben Shapiro-sized hole in the wall. That's what I want to do right now.
And it just makes me think about this time that I was in the Walmart bathroom just having a bad IBS episode in the men's bathroom. And I was the one just blowing it up. And it wasn't until much later that I noticed there was just a silent guy in the stall. Like after like 5 minutes of just me being disgusting, I hear like a little shift, and I'm like, and so every time I see those videos of trans guys talking about how gross men are in the bathroom, I never want to be invalidating, but I want to be like, what if it's a woman? It could be a woman. It could be me. What if it's me?
So that's the takeaway. The takeaway is that women take dumps too?
That's impossible.
Yeah. How many of these videos are there? I can't take it. My brain cells are all dying. By the time we get to the end of these TikTok videos, I will not be a functional human being. I'm just going to be babbling in cream of wheat like Joe Biden by the time. You've destroyed all of my neuronal connections.
No nuance November. Here's everything that's wrong with America. Let's go. Firstly, for context, my name's Emma. I live in Australia, and I have degrees in sociology and law.
Okay, stop for a second. 1, degree in sociology. You're a professional useless person. 2, you're in Australia. I don't want to hear about your opinions on what's wrong with America. I don't give a shit. I really don't care. Like, you're busily locked down, like, for the 900th consecutive day on an island. Like, congratulations to you. Why would I? One of my favorite things about the left is that they think that I give any shit at all about what foreigners think of the United States. Like, I do not care. I could not care less.
Number 1, in a surprise to no one, what's wrong with America? Guns. Y'all are obsessed with your right to bear arms. Here's a concept.
M41 spanker available.
The feeling is mutual, lady. And why do I care about your feelings about our right to bear arms? Guns. I don't like your guns. Well, good. You live in Australia. Stay there. No one asked you.
Do you see this person next to me? E is my friend. C has had to put up with a lot to get to where Per is today. I just want to let Glint know that Thon is valid, that her pronouns are valid, and that Sarah identity is valid. I wish Void all the best, and look forward to maybe even seeing some of their lovely content someday. Please, treat them with respect, and I'm sure A will respect you too.
Is there a person next to this person? They said E is next to Jim, which is next to Void, which is next to Zerby, Ver, E, Ah-oo, Ah-ah, Ting Tang, Walla Walla Bing Bang, Ooh-ee, Ooh-ah, Ting Tang, Walla Walla Bing Bang. I have no idea what that was. Maybe it's a brilliant form of, really, like I made a Clockwork Orange reference before we even began. I'm wondering if this is just like a brilliant new form of sci-fi that is filled with, you know, various new terms. Like you're having a milk, but it's an actual, like, alcoholic beverage. I don't know what. Go, just go. Is this the last one? Please, God. Is this the last one? So it's 2, you lied to me.
More no nuance November, I guess. This one is simply, if I'm pissing off Ben Shapiro, I must be doing something right.
You haven't pissed me off. I don't understand who you are. Which person is this?
Pronouns he, them, their, heirs, these, and theirs, or really any neo pronouns.
That's the same person? Well, I'm glad this person grew out their hair. So that's good. I'm proud of Giger Void McE. We've crossed all barriers now. They make TikTok videos, I respond to the TikTok videos, and then they completely change into different characters and respond to my TikTok videos, and then I respond to their TikTok videos. It's an infinite regress of brain-melting stupidity.
They've taken our flag. The enemy carrier has revealed themselves.
I got nothing for you. This is no longer cute. You need to go get a job. Stop being dependent on the public dime. All of you people on TikTok, go get jobs. Become productive humans. Enter into meaningful relationships. Go do something useful with your lives. Please, for the love of God. Well, now that what is left of my brain, what is left of my brain is not allowing me to say words in
Frag grenades
sentences
acquired.
anymore. Yeah, guys, you keep going this way, you keep torturing me this way, you keep demanding in the comments that I continue to make these woke TikTok response videos. You keep doing this, and you will get me to run for president eventually, and I will be just as dysfunctional and non-functional as the current president of the United States. Just like there will be no brains left in my head.
Mr. President, have you gone completely insane? Like a fox.
TikTok delenda est.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Spike grenades acquired.
Let me ask each of you to introduce the other. Ben, would you like to introduce Anna?
Sure. So, this is Anna Kasparian. She is, and first of all, a big round of applause for Anna because this is a Chamber of Commerce meeting.
5 minutes remaining.
Anna's quite famously a Bernie Sanders supporter, so it takes a lot of guts to get up in front of a business audience, and she really deserves a lot of credit for that, for sure. She's the co-host of the immensely popular Young Turks, which is a show you can find on YouTube. It's also a podcast, and it's available pretty much everywhere. And she's also the producer of that show, executive producer of that show.
Thank you, Ben.
Anna, your turn.
I see him. The enemy carrier.
All right. First of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and everyone's been so hospitable and incredibly polite and nice, and I really appreciate that. Ben, I just found out, based on what Jean told me, suggested me to be part of this conversation, and I really appreciate that. You know, Ben is the co-founder of The Daily Wire, incredibly well known, especially in the media space, the new media space specifically, but he's certainly made his rounds in traditional media as well. And he has really popularized a lot of conservative ideals, conservative beliefs that I think were getting a little played out by some of the old guard of conservatism. So, you know, Ben is known for being sharp, being able to defend his viewpoints without engaging in personal attacks. So, looking forward to having this conversation with Ben and, you know, sharing our ideas with one another and, you know, with everyone here. So, thank you for having me.
Well, we love civility, so thank you. So for those of you who looked at it, you know our topic is leading political voices of the next generation of leaders. So you're thought leaders within your individual, within your generation, a generation that's much younger than mine. What would you like the people of your generation to know moving forward? Anna, let's start with you.
Well, I think that my generation is certainly pretty passionate about changing things, certainly changing the way that they work and live. We're seeing that play out currently with the pandemic and the labor shortage that's taking place. And I'd like them to know that we don't really need to reinvent the wheel. We've seen strategies and solutions that have worked in the past. This country has gone through many terrible things in its history. It's a very short history, you know, relative to other countries. And despite all of those awful things that have happened, things like the Great Depression, for instance, the country was still able to pull through. And I would suggest looking to history at the solutions that worked, specifically a strong labor movement in order to, you know, really rework the power dynamic that we're seeing right now in the workplace. I think a lot of the reasoning for not going back to the jobs that workers were previously working in prior to the pandemic has to do with the fact that, hey, you know, we've been staying home during the lockdown. Now we realize that spending time with our family, having a little free time for ourselves, being able to go outdoors and do recreational things, that's important to us. So they're reimagining what their lives could be like if they take a little bit of power back in the workplace. And I think that that's definitely possible. They just got to fight for it. They got to organize. They got to work together and not get distracted by manufactured culture wars that we see play out in the media every day.
Ben, how about the folks on your side?
So, I mean, I think that for folks on my side, I sort of have the same message for everybody on all sides, which is that the world did not begin spinning when you were born. And there's a great amount of wisdom, accumulated wisdom, that has built up over literally thousands of years, in the United States over hundreds of years, that is well worth going back to as a source of both inspiration and understanding of exactly why the system is supposed to work in a particular way. And that requires a certain understanding of human nature, of human beings, as both capable of amazing things, but also as inherently flawed and ambitious, and why you need a governmental system that is capable of checking ambition with ambition, checks and balances, subsidiarity, the belief in a federalist system that allows for experimentation on a local level without attempting to cram one-size-fits-all solutions on everybody from the federal level. But that begins with reading history. It does begin with understanding some basic philosophies about how the United States works, because if it feels like the country is coming apart, and it really does feel like that more and more every day, that is because I think that there is a failure to agree on some of the central bases for the country. So we're either going to have to clarify where the disagreements are, or we're going to be in serious trouble as a country.
I love the answers because it leads directly into what I want to ask you about next. It's going to be the most obvious statement I'm going to make tonight. The last 18 months have seen significant turmoil, not only with COVID, but with our social, our cultural upheavals, as we've seen people, protesting some just horrible, egregious acts. As you know, the future of work, how we work, all those things are out there for discussion. Trust in institutions, and trust or an understanding, as Ben said, of literally the basis of our society. I saw a great quote. I mean, we've had the 1619 Project, we've had the book called 1620, 1776 Commission, all of them designed to push back on that. I saw a great quote from a noted political scientist who said, America is not a lie, but a disappointment. But a disappointment because it is a hope. Would you agree that that's a good description? And would you also agree that the U.S. is an exceptional country? Ben, I'll start with you.
I mean, I obviously believe that the United States is an exceptional country. I think that our history is filled with moments of glory. It's also filled with some terrible tragedy and some terrible evil. There's no question about any of that. To suggest that America is a disappointment is to suggest that utopia
If any of you tired of getting ripped off by guys like that.
Good morning and welcome to yet another vlog. Not that early in the morning, but it's pretty early. We have a long day ahead of us. I got a couple of meetings in the morning. I have a lunch meeting, and then after that, I think I'm pretty sure that my schedule is planned out. But I think that I have a Halo interview that is going to happen, that we're gonna pre-record, and then it's gonna air tonight or yesterday night. You guys will probably miss it by now, so I'll give you a little bit of a clip of that later on. Either way, it's gonna be broadcasting on Halo. I'm broadcasting on Halo, and it's always, I always say, like, I owe Halo a lot. It gave me a vision as to what it could be. We never really participated in Halo in the beginning, but I did see what they were doing. I did see what Sundance, Sepso, Adam Apicella all did at MLG, and I saw a possibility for that to happen in Call of Duty. Long story, I always talk about it, so I'll spare you the details on that. But the goal for today, priority number one, is to go pick up Formal from the airport. I cannot forget to pick up Formal from the airport. He lands at 8 p.m., so almost 12 hours from right now. and then I have to go pick him up. As you guys know, he went to Los Angeles to compete in the 100 Thieves Legends tournament with Aches and Nate Shad and a whole bunch of other people. It was a fun time from what I didn't watch it, but apparently it was a really, really fun time, as Formal was saying. So that is the goal for today. Also, as you guys know, I am going to be making an appearance December 10th at Sweet Flower on Melrose in Los Angeles. So I'm gonna bring the vlog along with me. So even if you're not from the area, you're still gonna get to experience a little bit of it, and that's always the plan. Having said that, everybody, I am gonna get the day started. Oh, also in January or late December is when we're gonna be doing the additional walls for, or the additional art drop for Hex Quarters. It probably won't, I don't know if we'll be able to do it this year. I'm gonna try to do it this year, maybe by New Year's or something, give you guys an opportunity. But next year, I think that I'm gonna
Most people don't know how bicycles actually work. So we modified this bike to prove it. This video is sponsored by KiwiCo. More about them at the end of the show.
When you're riding a bike and you want to turn left, I think most people just imagine you turn the handlebars to the left. This is a bike to test whether that is true, and it's made by my friend Rick here. And he's got a radio controller that allows him to lock out the steering to one side. So what he's gonna do is, as I'm biking, he's gonna pick whether I can turn either to the left or to the right. So go for it.
I'm giving it a left turn. It pulls the pin out, but you can see that you can still fully steer. After I pulled the pin out, I've armed it. There's where it locks.
Enemy has the
now
ball.
that's when your LED comes on. And that just says turn that way.
Turn left.
Yeah.
And if I try to turn right, I can't. And if I try to turn left, I can't. So the question is, can I successfully execute this left-hand turn? Should we give it a shot? I mean, he's not going to tell me whether it's left or right, so I have to look at the LED to know which way I can still turn.
You let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
Seize the skull!
No! That was meant to be a turn to the right, but there was no chance in hell.
We have the ball. Ball drop.
All right. Right. God.
If you look closely, you can see the problem. Here, I'm trying to turn right, but steering that way puts me off balance. If you could ride this bicycle, you would find it's impossible to turn left without first steering right, and it's impossible to turn right without first steering left. This seems wrong. I think most people believe you turn a bike simply by pointing the handlebars in the direction you want to go. After all, this is how you drive a car. Point the front wheels any direction you like, and the car just goes that way. But the difference with a bicycle is steering doesn't just affect the direction you're headed, it also affects your balance. Imagine you want to make a right turn, so you steer the handlebars to the right. What you've done is effectively steered the bike out from under you. So now you're leaning to the left, and the ground puts a force on the bike to the left, so the only way not to fall is to steer the bike to the left. You have made a left turn. If you really wanted to turn right, you first have to counter steer to the left, so you can lean right into the turn. This is something anyone who rides a bike knows intuitively, but not explicitly.
Turn left.
Film someone riding a bike towards you and tell them which direction to turn, and you will find they counter steer without even thinking about it.
Hard left.
Yeah. That's really clear.
When you're riding a bike, it's exactly the same as what we call an inverted pendulum, or balancing a broomstick on your hand. If I'm balancing it and I just start walking toward you, it will always fall away from you. If I want to walk toward you, it's easy enough to do, and people inherently know how to do it. If I pull it backward, I can now start walking that way. I have to initiate the lean
Yeah.
to turn into it.
If you want to move the pendulum somewhere, you first move the base in the opposite direction. Now the pendulum is leaning in the direction you want to go, so you can move with it. And it's the same with a unicycle. In order to go forward, first you have to pedal back. So you're leaning forward, and then you can go forward with it.
Everything you're doing on a unicycle is all about keeping that contact patch right where it needs to be relative to you. You're balancing the broomstick. It's just that on a unicycle, you do the longitudinal balance with the pedals. And you do the lateral balance side to side, the same as you do with a bike. You essentially sort of a small counter steer to get that weight, to get the contact patch out, and then you can pedal and bring it under you.
Now, I should point out that sometimes when the steering locked, we just happen to be leaning in the right direction to execute the turn.
Right.
Oh, managed it.
Essentially, by sheer luck, we had counter-steered before that side of the handlebars locked out.
Now I can keep going.
But don't turn left or you're
Don't turn left. I can't turn left.
Overshield available.
What's interesting about this is it shows that you can still ride the bike perfectly well, right? It's just you can't turn left. The funny thing is that you couldn't initiate the turn.
Right.
I mean, the wild takeaway is that steering is not just for turning the bike. Steering is for balancing.
That's exactly right.
Why is it hard to balance on a stationary bike? I think most people believe it's because the wheels aren't spinning, so there's no gyroscopic effect. But that's not it. The truth is, you use steering to keep the bike underneath you. But steering doesn't work when you're stationary. Your balance comes not so much from how you position your body over the bike, but by how you steer the bike to keep it underneath you. Even when going straight, you're constantly making small steering adjustments to maintain balance.
You're moving the contact patch of the front wheel under you. You're doing exactly what you do when you balance a broomstick in your hand.
So, if the rider is responsible for steering the bike to keep it balanced, how do bikes without riders stay upright? As long as a bike is moving with sufficient speed, it can keep coasting indefinitely. I first became aware of this phenomenon through the great videos by Minute Physics, which inspired me to make this video. You should definitely check them out. But it turned out the ground where we went to test this effect was really bumpy. But the bike still manages to absorb all these perturbations and remains stable. So how does it do this? I think most people believe it's the wheels spinning that creates some sort of gyroscopic effect that resists falling over. Just like in this demonstration of gyroscopic precession, the wheel stays upright even though gravity is pulling it down. But this is not why bikes are stable. Just watch what happens when we lock the handlebars completely. So you can only go straight ahead.
Locked out. Whoa!
All that's happening is the steering is locked. You just gotta ride it. You don't have to turn. You just
Go straight.
ride. Letting go?
Some people tried going really fast.
Ball dropped.
Holy crap, this is impossible.
Others experimented with extreme balancing techniques.
He's leaning.
Don't go too
hard.
fast.
Enemy has the ball.
But even with the gyroscopic effect of the wheels, no one was able to keep the bike upright for more than a few seconds.
Hold on. This is not safe for a second.
It is just as hard to balance on a bike with locked steering as it is to balance on a stationary bike.
No, this one is impossible.
Because you can't steer the bike back under you. The real reason bicycles are stable without riders is because they're cleverly designed to steer themselves. If they start falling to one side, the handlebars turn in that direction to steer the wheels back underneath them. At least 3 mechanisms are responsible for a bike's corrective steering. The first is that due to the angle of the front fork, the steering axis intersects the ground in front of where the wheel touches the ground. So if the bike starts leaning to the left, the force from the ground on the tire turns the wheel to the left. If the bike starts leaning right, the force from the ground pushes the wheel to the right. The front wheel of a bicycle is essentially a caster wheel, like those you find on strollers or shopping carts. Whichever way you drive them, the wheel falls in line and rolls in the same direction. The second reason for a bike's corrective steering is that the center of mass of the handlebars and front wheel are located slightly in front of the steering axis. So when the bike leans left, their weight pushes the front wheel to the left. If the bike leans right, their weight steers to the right. And the third mechanism
Ball drop.
is a gyroscopic
You
effect,
lost possession.
but it doesn't keep the bike upright directly.
We have the
it just
ball.
helps steer. If you have a gyroscope and you push down on the left-hand side, the gyro will turn left.
Ball drop.
If you push down on the right side, it will turn right. This is known as gyroscopic precession. It seems as though the force
Enemy
you
has the
apply
ball.
takes effect
Spike
90
grenades acquired.
degrees from where you applied it. So bikes are stable primarily because of steering. They have built-in mechanisms for steering themselves. In fact, you don't need all three mechanisms to create a stable bike. Researchers created this weird-looking bicycle to prove a point. It has no gyroscopic effect, thanks to counter-rotating wheels above the wheels that touch the floor.
We have the
Plus,
ball.
there is no
Ball
caster
drop.
effect because the front wheel touches the floor in front of the steering axis. But
We
this
have the
bike
ball.
is made stable
Ball
by
drop.
its mass distribution,
Repulsor obtained.
the force of gravity on which steers it in the direction of any lean.
Enemy has the ball.
Understanding how bicycles work is still an active area of
Enemy
research.
has the ball.
There is a program you can use to input all the different bicycle parameters and see the range of speeds over which it is self-stable. And this research is leading to better bikes. This prototype has a smart motor in the
Ball drop.
handlebars to actively
ally
help
has slain
steer,
the carry.
keeping the bike upright even at low speeds. I guess it's fitting that we're still learning new things about bicycles, since most of us are able to ride one without any knowledge of how we're actually doing it.
Hey, this video is sponsored by KiwiCo, creator of awesome hands-on projects and toys designed to expose kids to STEAM concepts. And with the holidays fast approaching, a KiwiCo subscription is the perfect gift for any of the young people in your life. KiwiCo now has 9 different subscription lines for different age groups and topics. Plus, they ship to more than 40 countries. I think